What's up, guys? It's KB. Make sure you subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. Click the bell icon down below so you don't miss a single video from us. And thanks for tuning in to another video from Underground Sports Philadelphia. Now let's get into it.
Philadelphia, baby, you're going to love it. Best sports fans in the world. Actually, the worst, but that's what makes them the best.
What is going on, OTB Nation? Happy New Year and welcome into episode number 356 of the award-nominated, honorably mentioned number 9 NCAA ranked and, of course, viewable on YouTube Outside the Box podcast, the official lacrosse podcast on the Underground Sports Philadelphia Podcast Network. KB and Deej coming at you, brand new year, same fun show. Not much has changed other than it's 2025 and we've got more NLL to dive into. We've got a couple signings that happened since the last time we recorded that I think are going to be very impactful for those respective clubs. And then we're going to give our 2025 delusional hopes and dreams for the podcast, inspired by the newly rebranded and newly named Underground Circuit, the official motorsports podcast on the Underground Sports Philadelphia Podcast Network. Go check them out all across the socials. Download and listen to that show. Casey and Owen do a great job for us, and they are one of our tentpole podcasts along with this show. But before we get into everything, make sure you guys are following us across the board at OTB Lax Pod. We're on every social platform. Follow Hoots at Hoot Sports Media. Follow Deej at SCS_next great. Follow Chase at the PLL Pipeline. You can follow me at KBIZZL311. Subscribe to the podcast feed on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you consume your podcasts in audio form. Leave us a 5-star review. It goes a long way for helping the show continue to grow, helps more people find OTB, helps more people find our entire podcast network across the board. So keep on subscribing. Big goal, I think, in the first half of this year is we want to hit 250 subscribers on Spotify. We're very close to it. So let's make it happen sooner than later. Subscribe, and subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel, youtube.com/@Underground Sports Philadelphia. It's where you get full video episodes of this show every single week, full video episodes of every show on our network, clips, shorts, live streams, original video content. It is all on our YouTube channel. We're ever so close to 900 subscribers. We did not hit the year-end goal like we anticipated. So that means 2025 is the year of 1K. And on the main pod, I said that I want to hit 2K this year. So we got a lot of work to do, people. And OTB Nation, I know you can come through for us. So subscribe, leave a like on the video, drop a comment in the comment section, and click that bell icon so you know whenever new videos go live. And this show is proudly presented by Shootout For Soldiers, who are bringing together community with lacrosse. And their first 2 events of 2025 are right around the corner, ladies and gentlemen. On February 15th, High Point University's Military Appreciation Games will be going down, and then Shootout For Soldiers, Houston, Texas, March 8th and March 9th. Both events are available to register now at shootoutforsoldiers.com/events. Definitely check both of those out if you're in the areas, whether it be for High Point University's Military Appreciation Games or Shootout For Soldiers, Houston, Texas, a new market there going into the new year. Here for Shootout For Soldiers. Very excited to see everything coming out of Houston and everything coming out of High Point with Shootout For Soldiers. They're truly the best. They're bridging together community with lacrosse to help support our nation's veterans in a very impactful and positive way. It is truly one of the coolest events in the lacrosse world I've been able to attend. I'm looking forward to their summer schedule as well to see which events I can roll up to, which events Deej can roll up to so he can get his first taste of Shootout For Soldiers. Maybe this 2025 is the year for you to get your first taste. You can start now, February 15th, High Point University's Military Appreciation Games, and March 8th and 9th, Shootout For Soldiers, Houston, Texas. Both events available to register for now at shootoutforsoldiers.com/events. And we thank Shootout For Soldiers for being the proud presenting partner of the Outside the Box podcast. What's poppin', Deej? It's a new year. New year, new you? Question mark?
No, absolutely not. Y'all finna get the same Deej y'all been getting for a long time. We locked in. Ain't nothing changed. No, hey, actually, I might put on some pounds. I might get a little beefier.
I'll just
I've been
donate.
working on. You said what?
I'll just donate some of mine.
Please,
We'll level out.
please. I need that. I think I want to pray a little bit more. And be meditate a little more often. Stretch every day. Just live a healthier lifestyle. That's what I'm looking to do.
I posted this on this past Monday, so the last Monday of 2024. And then, of course, as soon as I posted it, all hell broke loose at the day job, where your boy, you want to talk, you and I joke about crashing out. Your boy almost crashed out in real time. But I am going into the new year, and it's going to be a company-wide initiative. Positive Vibes Mondays. Mondays are always categorized as like the worst day of the week, when we all know Tuesdays are much worse than a Monday. Everyone's always groggy, tired, kind of just hate Mondays. Positive Vibes Mondays. You start your week off right, you're going to have a good week. Monday's the way to do it. Positive Vibes Mondays. Obviously, some circumstances are subject to change, but the mindset is Positive Vibes Mondays.
I love that. That was mine like a year ago, maybe 2 years ago. Just like
Last year
really,
was dry year for you.
yeah. So 2 years ago, it was big on like making Mondays the best day of the week and like really setting the vibe and the tone for the week, having a really good Monday so that the rest of the week went well. I think that went very well. I think the better you can start your week, the better the rest of the week goes. So I'm excited for those positive Mondays you got coming up. If you need some extra positivity, as always, give me a text, give me a
Because
call.
real
I'll
ones
sprinkle a
also
little
know.
in there.
Real ones also know that Monday is the true start of the week. All these calendars that start with Sunday, it's hogwash. That's Old Testament type vibes right there.
Not
No,
trying
no,
to
no, no.
hear it.
Sunday is the last day of the week. Monday is when the week begins. Real ones know. The real big brained thinkers understand that. Short and simple episode this week. There's only 3 games on the NLL docket. The PLL was very hush hush and quiet on January 1st, which is not the status quo for the PLL. But you and I were talking before we started recording. It's like, well, they kind of did announce a whole brand new women's league, right at the end of the year. So that kind of made up, I guess, for nothing truly, groundbreaking on January 1st. But we will recap the week that was in week 5 in the NLL that wrapped up the 2024 calendar year of the NLL. We'll get into this mini week that we have coming up. We'll get into picks. We do have a voicemail, which you guys can leave us a voicemail, speakpipe.com/OTBLaxPod. It's open 24/7, 365. So if you want to get lacrosse takes off, you want to voice and vent after your favorite team's game, whatever it may be, leave us a voicemail, speakpipe.com/OTBLaxPod. And we'll also get into a little bit of the Tucker Out Lymphoma Cup, because the trophy made its presence known on social media today, and that thing is a beauty. And if you know this podcast, you know that we like in-season tournaments and we like competing for trophies, because guess what? Flags fly forever. Trophies sit in a case forever. You're a champion forever. So we'll touch on the Tucker Cup as that starts this weekend as well in Albany. But let's wrap up week 5 in the NLLD. It's brought to you by our friends over at Buff. And you guys can still win a trip to Jackson Hole Ski Resort with our friends at Buff, a trip for 2. It's very simple to do. Link is in the description to register. Just fill out the information and you'll be entered into the giveaway to potentially win a trip for 2 to Jackson Hole Ski Resort. What a perfect way to start the new year. Nice little getaway trip to one of the most famous and most renowned ski resorts in the country. It's a place that is on my bucket list to visit at some point in my life. Not even to ski, just to go and enjoy the ambiance of Jackson Hole. You and a friend can win a trip for 2, courtesy of our friends at Buff, to Jackson Hole Ski Resort. Click the link in the description, enter the giveaway. I think it runs through January 16th, so you still have some time. You have about 2 weeks, and winners will be contacted via email and Instagram on January 20th, I believe, is the date they'll be contacting you. All the information is on Buff's website, and the link directly to the giveaway is in the description. And check out Buff. It's cold weather season, baby. Protect that face, protect that head, with their officially licensed survivor buffs. They've got beanies. They've got you covered to make sure your head and your face stay warm during these cold months of the year. So get your face wrapped up, get your head wrapped up with our friends at Buff. Click the link in the description. Shop everything they've got. I've been looking at some beanies, Deej. I've been looking at some like heavy duty like buffs that they have. They're looking nice. They're looking real warm, and might have to get a couple of those bad boys. So check out everything Buff has to offer. Enter the giveaway for the trip for 2 to Jackson Hole Ski Resort. And shout out to Buff for being a sponsor of the pod. Week 5 has come and gone, Deej, and it was kind of a crazy week, kind of one of our more chaotic weeks in the early go this season. Halifax pulls off an unbelievable comeback at home to win 13-9 over Albany. Buffalo demolish Rochester on banner raising night in front of 19,000 plus in Banditland, 13-6. Ottawa outlast Toronto and win the Battle of Ontario 12-11. The Wings hold on in overtime to beat Saskatchewan out in Saskatchewan 12-11. The Vancouver Warriors spoil the Calgary Roughnecks. Final game of 2024 at home, 14-10. And the Georgia Swarm hold on in Colorado and remain unbeaten and win 13-12 over the Mammoth. Albany. I know we talked the past couple of games where they've lost, and it's like we're not necessarily concerned per se. This is definitely an outlier game for Doug Jameson, where traditionally he has had great success against the Halifax Thunderbirds in his career. The offense was bad down the stretch. You know, when you are up 5-3 at halftime and then you allow 6-piece in the third quarter and you're up 9-6 going into the final frame, and then you don't score again the remainder of the game, that's definitely an issue. First time I feel like in a long time that Joe Nardella got beat at the stripe. Jake Withers takes it in this one, 15 out of 26. Halifax won the faceoff battle. Halifax also won the power play battle. They went 3 of 4 on the power play. Albany goes 2 of 4, and Halifax outshot Albany 68-49. And I mean, you look at just the stats for Albany in terms of goal contributions and point contributions. Like Alex Simmons had 2 and 2. Ethan Walker had 3 and 1. And then Dyson Williams had 3 points in this game. You had 2 assists from Ty Kurtz. It was very combination of 2023 and 2024 Albany FireWolves, where you had your big names scoring for you, but you also didn't have enough firepower from your supporting cast to outlast a fourth quarter surge against a team who is capable of going on runs like Halifax is.
This game had a really weird energy to me from the beginning. There was the sense that there was, like some excitement from both sides to be up and playing each other. And you could tell that this has become a game that they look forward to on their schedule, a little bit of a rivalry there with the history between the two teams and what those games have been like. In the past, those are tough games, hard fought games that are normally close due to Albany's weird style of defense. And then Halifax's dominating offense that kind of created somewhat of a stalemate. And this time, there was just this sense that Albany had control, but never felt comfortable. They started this game with a 3-0 lead and took that into the second quarter. So they are, there and they're ready, but they never felt comfortable to be like, okay, we have this game. Our game plan is going to work. We just need to keep doing the things we're doing now. It almost felt like they were always looking for that next adjustment to make to kind of solidify the game for themselves. And it never came. And it eventually kind of just gave Halifax space to step into the game, get comfortable, and then be like, hey, we're at home. We're playing good now. This crowd is behind us. Let's go ahead and end this thing. They put a couple goals in at the end to put it away. And boom, the story is written. I really feel like Halifax will look back at this game and learn a lot from it. Maybe not this upcoming week, maybe not even the next week, but in a few weeks, they're going to really, this is going to be a game that they come back to repeatedly throughout the season and go, we're not going to play like this. We're not going to do these things. Look at this. Let's capitalize off this X, Y, and Z. Because there were a lot of learning opportunities for them and how to handle a game, how to close a game, and things of that nature, which they're going to need if they're going to get back to the 2024 Halifax that we saw last year with that team.
And here's my thing, you talked about like Albany never adjusted. Halifax adjusted for them. Warren Hill got chased from this game, only played 39 minutes and 2 seconds, saved 28 shots, but gave up the 9 goals that Albany was able to put in the back of the net. Drew Hutchison comes in for about 21 minutes of this game, gets 12 saves, doesn't allow a single goal, gets the win in this game because of that. This is now back-to-back games. Warren Hill has been yanked from the game. Now, I'm not suggesting Warren Hill just becomes the backup or anything, but, when you look at Halifax right now and where they kind of are sitting after this game, which is a huge win for them just to kind of find themselves. It's their first win of the year. They're 1-3 now. But coming out of their bye week this week, they're off during this little 3-game week that we have. They come back against Rochester at Rochester for their first game back from the bye, and then after that, they're home against Rochester. So you have 2 straight against Rochester, kind of a home and home. Do you play Drew Hutchison coming out of the bye and kind of just let Warren Hill reset and kind of regroup? Do you split duties? Not that it's, a back-to-back or anything, but do you split duties? Like, I don't know. It's an interesting, like, weird spot for them to be in this early in the year that you're having your franchise goaltender kind of struggling in the early go here. And when you're sitting at 1-3, you can kind of tend to make those kind of quick split decisions to be like, hey, this is working for us. Drew Hutchison's been playing well when he's coming in relief. Does that translate to him playing a full game? Who's to say? Drew Hutchison is a world-class goalie. He deserves to be on an NLL roster for sure. But it's an interesting, like, spot that they're in, especially this early in the season.
Goalie is a little bit different of a position, especially in my head, the way I look at it. That's like almost a permanent move. Like if you're gonna pull him, you're gonna pull him, and you don't play him again unless your backup is literally that bad. But with that being said, I think there has to be a way for him to feel like his spot is in danger. He has to feel like there's a guy who may come in and replace him. He has to feel like there's some kind of consequence. Maybe it's a little early. I think maybe you split against Rochester because the chances of winning both those games are quite high at the moment, just with how Rochester's playing and where their season is heading. They're going to come out full force in both those games because they probably feel like both of those games are winnable as well. But I think now is the time to kind of take those chances. You don't really want to do that against a Buffalo. You don't want to do that San Diego, Georgia, especially with the way they've been playing right now, Colorado, Philly. Those are all teams that will really light the lamp if you give them an opportunity on a goaltender that hasn't seen many game shots throughout the year. So take the chances. No slight on Rochester. It's just They haven't been playing the best ball at the moment, so you take your chances when you can, and maybe that sparks something under Warren Hill, like, "Hey, by the way, there is a guy behind you that would love to play right now, and we're gonna give him an opportunity, so either step up or this guy's gonna run it." And, I think that'll be good for not only Drew, because maybe there's something that we're missing about, Drew in training camp or practice or whatever that maybe he doesn't quite have the fire to overtake Warren Hill. But maybe just him getting one start against Rochester, win or loss, might be enough for him to go, "Hey, they have just a little belief in me that I could possibly be the starter, so maybe I should step it up a little bit." It could work out well on both sides. It could go bad. You take Warren Hill out and he could completely check out because goalie is a head case game. Um, or, Drew Hutchison completely checks out. He's like, "Oh, I'll get one start, a pity start just to kind of give this guy fire." Like, well, fuck that. Like, I'd rather just like not be here. Like,
Which I don't think either of those guys are that way, having followed them and seeing what their careers have been and knowing kind of the I know this is weird to say, especially after the Tyson Bell thing, but knowing a lot of the guys in that Halifax locker room, they're very close knit and like that culture there has like good parts to it. Um, but I mean, the way you look at it right now, too, and the way I'm looking at it is just strictly from like games perspective of the teams that are on the outside looking in at the playoffs right now. And again, it's very early in the season. We're going into week 6, but of the teams on the outside looking in, San Diego to me is really the only team right now that has looked like a team that can be in the playoffs outside of the teams that are currently in the playoffs. You look at Halifax right now, they've been playing extremely sloppy outside of last week, and they had to have a fourth quarter comeback to get that win. Albany, they've been struggling. After that first win they've been struggling. Rochester's been really bad. Toronto's been really bad. Vegas has been atrocious. So I mean, there's realistically like right now like 9 teams fighting for 8 spots, and those teams that are on the outside looking in, they got to figure some things out fast to get themselves back into the playoff hunt. And it's crazy to think about that going into week 6. But sitting at 1-3 is not ideal in a unified standings league where your top 8 make the playoffs.
You only get so many games.
Right.
And, the earlier you can get yourself on track, well, I shouldn't say on track. I feel like the earlier you can find the adjustments you need to make as a team, the better off you are. And I don't think you really key in on those adjustments until you're headed into the middle of the season, a couple weeks before the middle of the season. So that way you're playing your very best ball toward the tail part of that middle part of the season into the end of the season in the playoffs. So I think Halifax is in a very prime position to turn things around if they're able to really look at themselves and get a look at their situation and how to advance it. Same thing for Albany, who's in that spot. Same thing for San Diego. There's a couple good teams that are down in that lower tier that can take advantage of what they've learned in these first couple of weeks, flip it on its head, and be in a much better position. But at the same time, they could choose to be willfully ignorant and say that, because a lot of these games have been close. There have not been a lot of blowouts. They can say, "Hey, we're right there. We just got to keep doing the things we've been doing, which aren't really working." So it really just comes down to mindset, like you said, in the locker room. And some of them have, a better chance due to their locker room mindset than others.
And I think you and I will both agree on this. Halifax needed this win more than anything. If they would have lost this game to Albany, who knows where this season kind of goes, especially after the whole Tyson Bell incident the previous week and kind of them being in the news for not what you want to be in the news for. I think this kind of gave them almost like a reset on a rough start to the year, kind of put the season in perspective in this first quadrant and is like, all right, hey, we're still a very talented team. We have some things to figure out. But let's put, the shit show behind us that we've been experiencing over the last couple weeks and kind of get back on track to where we know we can be. But I can't imagine what would have happened if they would have lost that game. It would have, I feel like their season could have spiraled a lot more than it initially was if they didn't get a win.
I think they're the only team outside of Rochester that would have benefited the most off of winning this week. I think
Mhm.
Rochester, if they could have won, would have benefited a lot more than Halifax, but this was
For different reasons.
very different reasons, but this was important for Halifax to keep a level head amongst themselves and to really focus on the locker room and, getting on the floor, playing well, and letting everything else dissipate around them.
Albany, though, they're sitting at 1-3, and that is what our voicemail is about. So you guys can leave us a voicemail, speakpipe.com/OTBLaxPod. The voicemail line is open 24/7, 365. Leave us your thoughts on your teams, your favorite players, transactions, whatever you want. It's available for you. Speakpipe.com/OTBLaxPod. And we've got a regular caller on the line, Deej, to talk about his Albany FireWolves and a big-time signing for the FireWolves that we'll get into, as well as Callum Crawford is heading back to the Den to play for the Albany FireWolves.
What's up? It's Aiden from the Battery. I'm an Albany FireWolves fan as well in the NLL. I went to college right up the road from where they played in Connecticut back in the Black Wolves days. Just two absolutely horrendous losses the last couple of weeks. I mean, Deej, congrats. That Dane Dobie performance, I imagine, was incredible to watch on the winning side. But, to see it on the losing end and then next week for it to happen basically again in Halifax, it's been a tough couple of weeks. So that Callum Crawford signing that just came through, cannot wait to see him out on the floor. Hopefully that is exactly what they need. A veteran presence in the offensive end to calm things down when the runs start happening, and provide some goals as well. I think cannot wait. Hopefully you guys are as excited as I am to see what he can do. Cannot wait to see him. He played in the Black Wolves days as well. Good to see him back in the Wolves uniform. And hopefully when the other team starts going on a 5, 6, 7 goal run, he can pot one in the other direction and won't give up any horrendous collapses in the second half for the rest of the year.
First off, Aiden, I was having the same heart attack you were having while watching Dane Dobie. I think mine was more out of excitement and yours was out of like, but like we both were sitting on the couch going like, that was insane to watch. Absolutely insane. Could not believe what I was watching. But yes, y'all have a problem closing out games. The first 2.5 quarters, maybe even 3 quarters sometimes, fantastic ball from the Albany FireWolves. Fourth quarter, it's like they forget how to play lacrosse, more specifically on the defensive end, which ultimately leads to better transition for the other team. And then their defense is playing well, so you're not getting as many offensive opportunities. It kind of all landslides or snowballs, whatever metaphor you want to use there, into each other. And that's really where you guys are having a serious problem, is you got to figure out the fall off between the end of period 3 and the beginning of period 4. Callum Crawford may come in and solve some of that problem, just being a cool, calm, collected guy that will be, most likely at the point of that offense and just kind of have a little more control there and say, hey, let's slow it down here. Let's look for this shot. Let's look for this look. Let's really take control of the game that we are already leading, rather than kind of playing into the other team's hands. I think that's what we see a lot, is obviously those other teams, they get frantic. They start speeding things up. They go faster. They're working harder. And Albany kind of matches that pace, which is a part of their play. Like that's what's carried them the last year and a half, is being that team that just matches your energy and does it better. Can't always do that. I think they have to now learn that they are a really good team that's going to be in the front of a lot, or going to be leading in a lot of these games. And in order to maintain that lead and keep yourself in front, you have to know how to manage a game. And they're really struggling to manage games right now.
And I think with Albany, and you never want to play the what if game, really, because you can't go back and change anything. But you look at their games. Week 1, they lose 10-9 at home against Saskatchewan. Then they blow out Toronto 15-4 in Toronto. Then they lose to Calgary 13-12 in the Dane Dobie game. And then they lose 13-9 because they let Halifax go on a 4-goal run in the fourth quarter, and they couldn't answer whatsoever for an entire quarter. This team could easily be 4-0. They score when they're supposed to. They prevent Dane Dobie from going sicko mode for 30 seconds. This team could easily be sitting at 4-0 right now and be one of the undefeated teams in the league. But like you said, those defensive lapses are there. The offense has gone cold late in games. I do think Callum Crawford is going to be a huge beneficiary for this team because we talked about it last year too. Even though they were going on that run and performing at an all-time clip, Alex Simmons, Rookie of the Year type stuff, Ty Kurtz, a Rookie of the Year nominee, they have been missing that veteran presence on the offense, and we never really knew where they could acquire that from. I think Callum coming into an organization that, yes, they're the Albany FireWolves. A lot of the pieces in place are still from the New England Black Wolves era, including Glenn Clark. So Callum knows this offense. And Callum's prime years, when we started this podcast, he was tearing it up with Riley O'Connor on the New England Black Wolves. I think this will benefit Callum. I think this will benefit the FireWolves. I think this will get more asses in seats at MVP Arena as well, which has been something that just continues to blow my mind and a lot of people's minds that that place is not selling out night in and night out when they have one of the most exciting on-paper rosters in the league. And I think Callum is a player that can also help unlock another dimension to Dyson Williams' game and allow Dyson to play even more freely than we've seen him through the first 4 weeks, and allow Dyson to kind of move a little more fluidly in this offense. I think it's a awesome signing for the FireWolves. I don't see any real negative to it. And you bring back a franchise legend who really, made his mark for a few years in New England. I think this will help. I think it's going to get, he played one game for the Wings and he had 5 points at the age of 40. So it's not like he's really lost a step. And that's something that the FireWolves lack. You have guys like Simmons and Ethan Walker and Dyson and Ty Kurtz who can pop off and have moments. But traditionally, you're seeing those guys kind of put up, anywhere from 2 to 5 points a night. Callum's a guy who can go off and have an 8-point game like it's nothing. You add something like that to this mix of the young core that Albany has, it's only going to be a huge benefit. And, when you're getting possessions with Joe Nardella, that's a huge win for Albany as well. And I mean, could there be any more of a perfect get right game for the Albany FireWolves than this week against the Vegas Desert Dogs, Deej?
What about Las Vegas? I heard you, but
that's who Albany play. Like, is there a more perfect get right game for the Albany FireWolves than to be playing host to the Las Vegas Desert Dogs this weekend?
I mean, at this point, once again, no disrespect, but Rochester, Las Vegas has at least kind of shown a heartbeat this year. Literally, I mean, Rochester beat Vegas, but barely. And it was I'm not saying that a win isn't a win, but it was one of those wow, Rochester really won that. It looked like Vegas was going to end up coming out with that win, and they just didn't. So, not saying that these are the two best teams that you could ask for at this moment. Is either Las Vegas or Rochester. There's a true debate between the two on which is better for you, but you can't go wrong with either one. I like their chances to kind of get the ball rolling soon if they're able to truly address, a couple of those issues that they've had early season. And, maybe not. They play Colorado next week.
Yeah.
Rough.
But yeah, good win for Halifax. Both of those teams, Halifax and Albany, have a lot to figure out. But Albany signing Callum Crawford, I think, is a huge benefit for them. And he's going to be available to play this weekend. So he'll be ready to rock and roll for them against Vegas on Saturday night. Buffalo wins banner raising night against Rochester. Rochester has a lot of things to figure out. And I think one of their issues, Deej, has been the face-off position. And guess what? I guess somebody gave him the green light to go because Mike Sisselberger has signed a 1-year deal with the Rochester Knighthawks after he got drafted by them last year. He's ready to rock and roll. And I was talking to Adam Levy about this in Philly a couple weeks ago at the Wings home opener. I have been like clamoring to see Sis play in the NLL because I think his wrestling background is a huge benefit for him in the NLL faceoff, and reminds me, not a direct correlation, but more similarly to like Connor Farrell's success in the NLL, where Connor has that football background. He can be physical at the faceoff stripe. I think Sis is going to be such a boost for them at the faceoff dot. It's going to help them a ton because that's the thing. Rochester has not been getting possessions off the rip. And when you're not getting the ball to your best players and you're allowing teams to kind of pile up on you before you have a chance to score, you lose games. So bringing in Sis, I think, is going to be huge for them. We didn't really see Rochester winning this game against Buffalo anyway. It's banner raising night, 19,000 plus in Bandit Land. It was over before it really started, honestly. Good win for Buffalo. They remain undefeated, and we'll see if Rochester can figure things out down in Georgia this weekend. Ottawa wins the Battle of Ontario, 12-11 against Toronto. Maybe Ottawa's just got to play an entire season schedule, and it's just Toronto on their schedule, because that is the only time they've won this year. Just let Ottawa play an entire 18-game schedule against Toronto, and they'll win the league.
I mean, well, yeah, because Toronto's up in that conversation of
get right games.
Yeah, they are. So I mean, yeah, they probably would. Like, I don't feel confident about Toronto at this moment.
Oh.
I think depending on when they get some of these players back, could
and
determine.
Even then, it's going to take.
I say it just determines on how bad the season is at that point, and if they're able to make a turnaround. So, yeah,
good on Ottawa.
Yes, good on Ottawa to have scheduled them so early a couple times, get a couple wins under your belt before things get tough, and you kind of have that to fall back on. Like, hey, we have won. We know
an early
how
season tiebreaker in hand, just like Georgia has the tiebreaker over San Diego. Like, to have that bet this early in the season before things really like figure themselves out as the season rolls on, I think is so big.
Yeah, I think I think it's so tough because, like, I think every team,
like any tiebreaker you can have,
there's what two or three teams that each team plays twice,
something like that.
I think those are a little more important
than because you get the
some of the other ones,
like tiebreaker against a team that, and when you look at a tiebreaker like Philly has over Vegas, we don't really see Vegas making the playoffs, but granted, it's 2 wins that they should have. But when you're a team like Georgia and you have a tiebreaker over San Diego, or you're in Ottawa and you have a tiebreaker over Toronto, and if they're able to figure things out, that's a huge benefit for you. So good on Ottawa. Another big win for them. We'll see if they can beat a team not named Toronto as they play San Diego this weekend in San Diego. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Philadelphia Wings are a fucking good lacrosse team, baby. 12-11 overtime win in Saskatoon. How you doing, naysayers? How are the doubters doing? Yeah, I'm clapping for the boys because they deserve it. Holden Cattoni, the man that you are. What a healthy Holden Cattoni does for a roster. Knows no bounds. Big time win for the Wings on the road in Saskatchewan. They don't hit the lucky 15 marker in goals and still win a game. They get shut out in the fourth quarter, so that's a little bit of a concern there. But again, Saskatchewan, at this point in the season, very good team. They played very good defense, and goddamn is Mike Triolo really fucking good. He's a problem. And he's gigantic. He's gigantic. Like, the fact that man is not playing a double life and playing off the bench for an NBA team with Pat Spencer or something is crazy. But I tweeted this. I said, this win for the Wings is a damn good win because this Saskatchewan team is going to make the playoffs this year. They're a damn good team, top to bottom. They are so talented. and the Wings gutted out a win to, quite frankly, like that. You look at the typical stats that get put out on stat sheets and everything. You look at those blind, you would say Saskatchewan ran away with this game. Saskatchewan won 20 of 27 faceoffs. They outshot the Wings 58-50. They went 1 for 5 on the power play. Wings only had one power play opportunity. On paper, blindly, without seeing the score, you would think Saskatchewan dominated this game. But the Wings did just enough, and it was that second quarter that they have kind of figured out over the past couple games that really put them over the top, because they were able to score 5, the Wings did in the second, that kind of offset their shutout in the fourth quarter to a degree. And then Holden Cattoni comes up clutch, 5 goals in this game. Mitch Jones leads the team in points in this one with 9. Brennan O'Neill, 8-point game, only player in both field and box and college this in 2024 to have an 8-point game in all 3. I mean, there's still a lot of season to be played, but I do love that everyone is seeing how damn good Brennan O'Neill is in the box game. He had that fucking flying through the roof type goal that he scored. And there's a lot of chatter that Brennan O'Neill is right now the clear-cut rookie of the year, which I love for Brennan, because so many people were questioning whether or not, one, he was going to play, whether or not he was going to be good at the box game. And week over week, he just continues to silence everyone. He won another Rookie of the Week award this past week. And he's doing it while he doesn't have to be the guy. And we talked about that in the preseason, where he can kind of just come into this situation, play so loosely, and you're seeing like the most free-flowing form of Brennan O'Neill you could ever watch.
I think there's just a level of excitement in the building that hasn't been there the past couple years for Philly, and I think that is kind of what's driving this team. Is they're all just having fun. They kind of just let things go, relaxed, and went back to the most important part of the game, is enjoying it. Yes, the wins matter, the stats matter, fanship, like all that stuff. But at the end of the day, if you're not enjoying it, none of the other things will matter to you. And you can see that Philly is just having a good time playing lacrosse. Like you said, I think the second quarter has been great for them, which I think is a great quarter to have under wraps. Like, you're always headed into the break feeling good about yourself, seeing the best parts of the game that are working for you, seeing the parts that aren't working, and you're able to make those adjustments like pretty much while they're fresh on your mind to then expand on them into the second half of the game. My only thing is I think they have to be a little more hungry goal scorers in the fourth quarter.
Mhm.
From what I've seen, the fourth quarter seems to be very relaxed. Like, hey, let's take the air out of the ball. Let's really do our job in draining this clock and really just getting it down the last couple of seconds and basically taking a shot clock violation.
Outside of that Seals game where
Yeah.
they were like trying to play comeback.
Yeah, well, obviously, you're playing comeback, got to be the case. But like, I like it, but I want to see them really look to score on a few of those offensive possessions. Like,
Mhm.
cool, drain the clock, make it hard for them to come back, waste possessions, but at the same time, like, for me, it's like a 2 to 3 to 1 rule. So like every 2 to 3 offensive possessions that you give away, one, you got to really try and score. And that's up to you as a team and the position in the game and how you want to do that. Something I try and do when I'm winning a game, like, hey, we're going to waste a bunch of time here. We're just going to spin it around until we turn it over, whatever. Or until we find a really good shot. Maybe we want to get a certain person a shot. And I'll probably start with 2 if we're winning at the beginning of the fourth quarter. Slow it down. So then every 3 possessions. Yeah, every 2 possessions, really try and score after on that next one. And then as the game dwindles down, it'll be every 3 possessions. So we get the ball, drain a bunch of clock. That fourth time we get the ball, we'll really try and score. So I think, that's something that they should really try and explore just to keep the offense fresh, keep them ready, but also kind of just a couple of those opportunities where they're really trying on the offensive end should produce goals. So then they're still kind of either extending that lead or keeping it where it is as the other team starts to try and crawl back. That's my one criticism. I think the Wings have played exceptional lacrosse so far and are in a great position to start the year.
They're beating the teams they need to beat. This is a win that showcases, like, hey, sure, their last 2 games before this one was against Vegas, and they dominated, but they can beat other teams too. And we both agreed that first game against San Diego with a brand new head coach, brand new offensive system was a win in the building for them. And I think a lot of Wings fans, if you told them the first 4 games you'd be 3-1, you're asking, where do I sign? Because they're halfway to their win total of all of last season already. That's a huge win and a huge testament to the players who are still on the roster from last year, recognizing last year was an utter disaster and figuring out what they have to do to be better while bringing in so many new faces. And they've been meshing extremely well. And I think that's also a huge testament to Paul Day in the GM role and a huge testament to Ian Rubel and his staff from a brand new coaching staff perspective to really have these guys playing close-knit team lacrosse right now. Because I think when they look back at this game could mean a lot in terms of positioning in the playoffs down the line, especially if both of these teams make the playoffs, which I think you and I both agree right now. Both of these teams are playoff teams. And I think it's a huge win for the Wings, and for Saskatchewan, it's not a bad loss. It's your first loss of the year. You played another playoff team, and you've been grinding away all season long so far and pulling out wins against big time clubs. You look at who Saskatchewan has beaten so far this year. They get that first week kind of stunner win against Albany, and then in week 2, who did they play? Totally blanking. They beat Halifax 9-8, and then they beat Rochester 14-12. So they played in a ton of close games. They played in a ton of overtime games. That's one thing for Saskatchewan that they're going to have to figure out, is kind of finding ways to pull away from some of these teams that they're going up against and not playing extra lacrosse, because that could also be something that is wear and tear on your guys, that if you're playing too much overtime, you're playing a little extra down the line. You don't want this team that's filled with young guys who don't have ultimate playoff experience to be gassed when the bright lights come on and playoff time rolls around.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're in a great spot to just play good lacrosse and be calm and really just ride the wave and the momentum that they've built themselves. When you got a nice vibe in the locker room, you just ride that and you let it kind of carry your season. But you also have to be aware of not literally just riding on vibes, also putting in the work and things of that nature. I think they're in a good headspace and a good position at the moment to just continue with the philosophy they have and see good results.
You ready to talk about it, Deej?
Yeah.
Vancouver 14, Calgary 10.
I mean, we don't need to talk about it. It is beating a dead horse at this point.
I mean,
tell me
really,
I'm wrong.
Ultimately, what Dane Dobie did to Albany, Kevin Crowley came out and went sicko mode against you guys. Big Cat was on fire in this game. 8 points, 5 goals. It was a vintage Kevin Crowley game, friend of the program. Shout out to Big Cat.
But that's the thing, the one problem with our team is between the pipes. That still proved to be the problem this weekend. It wasn't like our offense didn't show up and play. It wasn't like our defense just let them have their way. Our goalies can't stop a bus if it was moving in front of them at this point.
It was the first and the fourth quarter that really screwed you. Vancouver scored 6 in the first and 4 in the fourth.
Let me bring that, because the second and third, there were some saves that
you shut them out in the third quarter.
Listen, there were a few saves that my boy Big Mac made, and I was like, hello? You about to play like this? You gonna play like this? I almost tweeted, Roughneck's gonna win the NLL Cup. If Cam McLeod's gonna play like this, Roughneck's gonna win the cup. And then I was like, let me hold that for a second. And then the fourth quarter happened, and I was like,
I think this game happened because Cam McLeod was just trying to hold you accountable because you didn't post a video of you eating a Big Mac for the second win for the Calgary Roughnecks this year.
Oh yeah, I do need to do that. I got
Cam
a
was
ton of
holding you
time.
accountable and said, "Hey man, we can't eat the third one until you eat the second one."
Listen, shout out Cam. Shout out Cam, because I think I would have died if they would have won this week.
Your
But
sodium levels would have been true to roof.
man, bro, like I'm young, I'm skinny, but y'all seen Supersize Me. It can happen to anybody.
He's gonna have to go on a run while eating that big. Here's Big Mac number 3.
Gotta stay in shape. Hey, what should I eat after this, y'all? I'm gonna be hungry.
That's the bit. You gotta like run and eat the Big Mac.
I'm definitely getting the chicken one next time, and I think it makes more sense with his name being Cam. Chicken Big Mac. Cam, C, chicken, C.
That's that.
I didn't say.
What did you say part of your New Year's resolution was?
Hey.
You want to stretch for you? There we go. You already off on a good foot. You stretching real good.
You on that bullshit.
We told y'all. New Year, same goofy ass podcast.
I swear to God. Nothing gonna change.
Hey, I mean, on the bright side, Dan Taylor got released by the Vegas Desert Dogs. Does he go back to Calgary this year? That was a quick little trip of coffee for him. But for real though, like it's the goaltending, and you and I have also been on the record with this. It's not always all on the goaltender. The defense also has to step up in front of them. And Kevin Crowley just went on a goddamn heater.
But as a fan who's been watching these games, the defense is doing their part. Like if you go back and you watch almost all of Kevin Crowley's goals, they were shots from outside. You got to save those as a goalie. The defense has done their job and given you a shot you can save. You got to save it. Ones that are in tight, I get it's a 50-50. It's not really in your favor. A wide open shot in transition, a wide open shot from the point. Like I get there are times where the defense fucks up. But in this specific game, and really about half of the total game time that that Calgary has played as a team this year, those goals are on the goalies. Both, not just one, because both of them have been in there and let in some pretty bad goals that they definitely should have saved. But you also know me. It's hard for me to admit that it's a goalie's fault because there's so much that has to happen before it gets there. But this is one of those positions where the goalies have some fault.
Yeah. Good win for Vancouver. That keeps them kind of mid-table of playoffs right now, and for the time being puts them ahead of Calgary. And that was Kurt Malosky's 100th win as a head coach in the NLL. So congrats to Coach Malosky. Final game of the week. Georgia holds on in Colorado 13-12 to beat the Mammoth. Our good pal Hoots on the ground. Hoots was at the game and confirmed to me a little Hootie sources told me that the Connor Robinson alleged trade rumors are absolutely false. So anybody out there thinking that people putting out there that C-Rob was going to be a trade piece for the Mammoth, according to Brandon Hooten, the rumors are indeed false. This one was won in the second quarter for Georgia. Colorado blew a 4-1 lead in the first. They go into halftime tied 7-7. They go into the third with a 1-goal lead. And then in the fourth quarter, it all hell breaks loose. And Georgia puts up a 5-piece. It's not even that Colorado played bad. It's just Brett Dobson's Brett Dobson, and the defense in front of Dylan Ward in this game, as the game progressed, got worse and worse and worse.
Also, did Georgia put a spell on the NLL?
Man,
Because
swear,
why? No. Because why everybody playing Georgia the same way?
I swear it's that damn
It's like the
mascot.
exact same way, bruh. Stinger, what is? I'm on. What did he do? What did Stinger do? Bring him in for questioning.
Yep. We need
He
all the
needs
mascots to interrogate that motherfucker.
put him in interrogation room 1. I'll be in there in a second. No, don't even trip. I got this.
We gotta pull in
Because
Winston, have Winston's head spin around on him.
like what I'm trying to figure out is how everybody's like in it, good to go. Like it's gonna be a great game.
Yep.
They're definitely like coming down to the wire, and a couple of them have, but then all of a sudden the defenses like fall apart, and like Georgia can just score when they want to, and I'm like, this makes no sense. No
Three
sense.
of their 4 games have been won by 1 goal. They beat San Diego 13-12 in their first game. They beat Toronto 10-9 in their second game. And then they beat the Mammoth 13-12 this past week. And then they won 11-8 against San Diego in their second meeting. They're literally inverse Albany right now. Like Albany's losing all those close games. Georgia's winning all of them. Yeah, I don't get it. And I will say, I think I know part of it because our good pal Adam Levy tweeted this today. I think this is a good indicator because we all know Georgia's got the talent offensively. Lyle Thompson, Shane Jackson, Andrew Q. They got the boys. A big part of Georgia doing what they're doing, Jeremy Thompson's leading the NLL in faceoff win percentage with a minimum of 20 faceoffs taken. He's winning at almost a 70% clip, 69.1% win rate at the dot. He needs to win only 26 more faceoffs to pass Jeff Snyder for the second most faceoff wins in NLL regular season history. That's a big part of why they're winning. Jeremy Thompson's getting these elite caliber offensive weapons possessions 69.1% of the time.
And I think I'm going to say something that some people might not agree with, but faceoffs in the NLL are more important in the first and fourth quarters than any other part of the game.
Mm-hmm.
How you start the game and then how you start the finish or how you finish the game are the most important parts. And he has done an exceptional job in the first and fourth quarters at getting them the ball, especially in the start of the game, getting them comfortable, allowing them to get plenty of touches and shots to find their groove for the night, flipping it on the other side. At the end of the games, what's more important than having the ball? Nothing. He's giving them the ball with a lead with a chance to extend it oftentimes, or at least just giving them the ball with time to take away from the other team. Those times are coming up huge for this Georgia team, and it's a big part of the reason why they're one of 2 undefeated teams left in the NLL.
And I mean, you just look at the way that their offense plays too. Like they don't have to overproduce. When you have Lyle, when you have Shane Jackson, when you have Andrew Q, they're more methodical type shooters. They're going to find their spots and they're going to cash in when they find them. They are literally sharpshooters. If they find their spot, it's almost certainly going to the back of the net unless something gets like we saw that one goal that Lyle scored this season that he had no angle whatsoever. He had no reason or right or any justification to find the back of the net with that angle he was shooting at, and yet he did. That's why Georgia is winning. They don't have to bludgeon you. They don't have to, blow you out, but they're going to make sure that at the end of the day, they put up enough goals. Brett Dobson's getting enough saves, and Jeremy Thompson's getting those possessions for you. And to your point with faceoffs, which we're pro faceoff podcasts, always have been, always will be. Our good pal Pat Gregoire tweeted the astronaut meme. It was like, oh, so faceoffs are valuable in the NLL, and the guy behind him is with the space gun and says, always have been.
Always have been.
So there you have it. Last bit too on week 5. Shout out to Mackie Jenner. Fantastic job on the broadcast. Absolute legend. 2025 is the year of the Jenner on this podcast. We're in our Jenner era, Deej, because Mackie and Teddy will be coming on the pod at some point this year. Because when I said, hopefully it's not too difficult to book you for the podcast now, Mackie, and Teddy said, before me, I'm hurt. So we will have both Jenners at some point, which we have been trying to do for some time now. But they'll be coming on soon, just working on schedules. And we'll have Teddy and Mackie on at some point in the near future here in 2025. But shout out to Mackie. She absolutely crushed the broadcast. And I hope we get more of her on these NLL broadcasts because she was a very refreshing and welcomed voice in the broadcast booth. The standings after week 5, Georgia and Buffalo, the only undefeated teams remaining. Georgia at the top just because they won one more game. They're 4-0. Buffalo's 3-0. The Wings are in third at 3-1. Saskatchewan 3-1 in 4th place. Vancouver in 5th place at 2-1. Calgary in 6th place at 2-1. Ottawa in 7th place at 2-1. They have a negative score differential. Colorado in 8th place at 3-2. San Diego on the outside looking in, they are 2-2. Halifax 1-3. Albany 1-3. Rochester 1-4. Toronto 0-4, and Las Vegas 0-4. Let's move to this mini week of games we have, Deej. Week 6. The Tucker Out Lymphoma Cup starts this week, which is very exciting. In Albany, it's Vegas. Desert Dogs versus the Albany FireWolves, the Adjective K9 Bowl. First time that head coach GM Sean Williams will be coaching against Dyson as well. That's at 7 p.m. on Saturday. 7:30 on Saturday, we got Rochester at Georgia. And then at 10 p.m., a little nightcap action. Ottawa goes out to San Diego to play the Seals. And those are the only games we have. Tucker Out Lymphoma Cup. The trophy looks absolutely spectacular, and I can't wait to see who ends up hoisting that bad boy. And I'm happy we have an in-season competition going on between Vegas, Albany, and Buffalo. Those are the 3 teams competing for that trophy.
Y'all can thank us.
Yes, you're welcome. You're welcome for bringing it to the forefront that we needed an in-season tournament in the NLL. I'm excited for Sis versus Jeremy Thompson. That's going to be awesome. 2 very different face-off styles going toe-to-toe. And then we got a great goalie matchup in San Diego with Higgy versus Origlieri. That's going to be awesome. And Dyson versus Sean Williams. Father versus son for the first time. Callum Crawford makes his FireWolves debut. In such a short week, we have a lot of fun things to pay attention to, for sure. I think this is the most important game for both parties is Ottawa San Diego. San Diego's kind of on the outside looking in right now. Again, it's early in the season, but they're 2-2. They want to stay above 500. And Ottawa wants to prove that they're just not Toronto Rock merchants.
I mean, both of them have plenty to prove. I think Vegas obviously wins more in this situation. Getting on the board, being and leaving Toronto as the only winless team. I think that's pretty important, and maybe it jump starts their season. Negative 23 on the goal differential is huge as well. So that's maybe something they can close in on this week, with Albany having some struggles on the offensive side as well. Albany obviously looking to bring Callum Crawford into the fold and how he's going to look to help their team. It's probably game of the week based upon, I think either this one or San Diego and Ottawa, just based upon how much comes out of this game. one of these teams loses and it looks real dark for them, while one of these teams wins and it looks possibly very good for them. And then, with Ottawa and San Diego, both of those teams are just really looking to continue down the path that they've been going for the season. San Diego just looking to get a few more wins, whereas Ottawa is looking to continue their winning ways and keep having what is technically a great inaugural season. So the middle game, tough luck. I think all we're really looking at is Sis versus Jeremy Thompson. I think
And what
that's
that does for the offense.
Yeah, I think that's really highlight there for that game. But I really think this first game of the week is going to be blockbuster, really exciting. Won't want to leave your couch
Cup game.
Because then not only is it a cup game, but just where these two teams are headed as teams, this is going to be vitally important for the next couple of weeks.
And if you haven't been paying attention or you just don't realize it, we've revived our pro soccer podcast on the network, Top Bins, your boy hosting along with Harrison. The more and more, Deej, that I have like gotten my feet wetter and wetter in the Premier League and in European soccer, I've become even more of a I gotta do this with the pinky out. Let me grab the Kenwood right here. I've become even more of a hooer for cups and like in-season tournament type things, and I just love that shit. It's so fun. Like we always say, flags fly forever. Trophies last forever. You're forever etched in the history books. So give me all the competitions. Give me all the in-season competitions, the championship competitions. That's why I love Champ Series in the PLL so much when they announced that. I was like, this is awesome. This is another avenue for these teams to compete for a trophy and have more bragging rights. And it's only going to get bigger and better. And like we've said time and time again, when Matt DeLuca came on, like those guys wanted to win that fucking Champ Series so badly. They were getting text messages from guys that weren't, and it was like, damn, we want to be there next year. These things are fun. And something like this with the Tucker Out Lymphoma Cup, not only is it going to be fun between these three teams and kind of curate a rivalry within the league because those are the three teams competing for it, it's also for an amazing cause and leaving a lasting legacy for somebody who is so intertwined in the lacrosse community in Tucker Williams. So I'm pumped for Cup game number 1. And I think Ottawa and San Diego is more so game of the week in terms of the type of play I think we're going to see from both teams. The only negative, shocker, I know we have an injury report before the games. This is the big one. Riley O'Connor's on the injury reserve list for Ottawa. Now, Ottawa did sign Brady Kiernan. Why does that sound familiar? Oh, right. His brother Connor plays for the Ottawa Black Bears. So the brothers reunited. But Riley O'Connor being out is a huge blow for them going into a game here against San Diego, a team that has high-powered offense. And you're going to need all systems go along with Jeff Teat kind of, going guns a-blazing against them, going up against one of the best young goalies in the league, if not the best young goalie in Chris Origlieri.
Yeah, I'm really excited for the goalie battle there. I think that's probably what that game is going to come down to, is which goalie is going to have a better day, make a few more saves. I think this is going to be a 1-2 goal game that's going to come down to the very end, and it's going to be exciting to watch. I think it all just depends on how you're looking at the week and what you find to be game of the week. But I do think there's going to be a lot of good lacrosse played this weekend.
And knowing us, Rochester, Georgia is going to turn into some like all-time classic because we're just discounting that game, and we're going to be like sitting here next week being like, holy shit, why didn't we talk about that game more? That's just our luck. But looking forward to a small slate of games. Before we get into our picks, you want to talk to you guys about our awesome merch partners at PHI Apparel Company. You want to rep OTB? The best way to do it is by visiting PHI Apparel Company's website. Be like Mitch Jones and rep OTB. Be like Connor Field's dad and rep OTB. Be like Blaze Reardon's dad and rep OTB. The number one place to get your official Outside the Box podcast merch is PHI Apparel Company. You want to stand out in the crowd, Go into your favorite NLL games. Hey, we even had the OTB shirt on ESPN because Hoots was walking around the floor, rocking that bad boy, shooting the game at the Mammoth Arena, at Ball Arena. OTB was on TV yet again. Shout out to the boy. Be like Hoots, rep OTB. PHI Apparel Company is the place to do it. Go to phiapparel.co. And when you go to checkout, use code underground and you get 10% off your next merch order. When you get your merch, we'll repost it. We want to see where you're rocking it at. phiapparel.co, code underground, 10% off your next merch order. Let's head on over to the pick pond for the first time in 2025. Feed some ducks and get into our NLL Week 6 picks of the week, brought to you by Kenwood Beer, the official beer partner of Underground Sports Philadelphia. It's a refreshing light beer, just 4.1% ABV, 120 calories, just 8 grams of carbs. Go to kenwoodbeer.com. Use the Kenny tracker to see who's got Kenwood Beer on tap in the Philadelphia, New Jersey, Maryland, Delaware, and Pittsburgh areas. You can also find Kenwood Beer at your local liquor stores in those markets. Once again, that's kenwoodbeer.com and use the Kenny Finder to see who's got Kenwood Beer on tap in your area. Must be 21 or older to do so. And of course, please drink responsibly. Deej, looking at our records, you went 4-2 last week to put you at 19-8 on the season. I went 2-3, I believe, if my math is correct. No, I went 3-3. So I am actually wrong here with my. No, I'm right. I did my math right. Math is hard, folks. Just
Yes,
don't forget
is.
that math is hard. I did do my math wrong though, because I gave myself an extra loss. I am 13-14 on the year. We start this week's games in Albany. Tucker Out Lymphoma Cup. Vegas and Albany. Not as easy of a game to predict as it has been in years past. But how do you see the first Cup game going, Deej?
I got to err on the side of caution. So I'm going to pick Albany. They're at home. They've won a game already this year. They just got to figure out how to close out games, and maybe this is a nice bounce back.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm going Albany because, again, we've talked about Vegas's back end, and their defense and goaltending has been suboptimal, to say the least. And until they give us a reason to truly pick them, got to go with the team that we've seen at least win a game this year, and convincingly. So going to go with Albany to get the dub and get the first Tucker Out Lymphoma Cup win. We go down to Georgia. I think we're both on the same page here. Until further notice, we got to pick against our League Pass team.
Yes, we do. And also, Georgia's on a train. I think this is more about me not picking against Georgia than it is against me not picking Rochester.
Yeah. Final game of the week, 10 p.m., the nightcap. Ottawa at San Diego. I think the most difficult game, obviously, to pick this week. Riley O'Connor being out is tough. But I don't know. Something to me is saying, hey, Zach Higgins is really freaking good, and Jeff Teat is arguably the best player on the planet right now. I'm going to go with Ottawa to get a sneaky upset in San Diego. Because here's my thing, too. San Diego still doesn't have Trevor Baptiste. He's on injured reserve. So that also kind of levels things out, in a sense, at the faceoff stripe for Ottawa, where they're not having to go up against Trevor. That's also part of my justification there.
Sure. I don't know if they have enough offensively without Riley O'Connor. He's a big part of what they have offensively. Their three-headed monster is him, Teat, and Sundown. My question.
Connor Kiernan.
My question that makes it so hard is Connor Kieran going to replace Riley O'Connor? Like, are you going to get your Riley O'Connor production from Connor Kieran? There's a chance, but it's not like a definite. Like, this happens to San Diego. This happens to Buffalo. This happens to Georgia. I'm probably brushing it off because their next guy up 9 times out of 10 is filling that role 100%. Not that Connor Kieran can't do it. Not that I don't believe it. Not that he's not a good player. Just he's not Riley O'Connor. And I don't know if he can be Riley O'Connor for a night when you're playing a star-studded team like San Diego where you got to be on your P's and Q's. I'm going to take Chris O'Reilly and San Diego Seals based on Riley O'Connor not playing.
I'll also say Connor Kieran playing against his former team, so a little revenge factor there for the boy. I'll also say with Ottawa too, I think we tend to forget just because it was kind of a thing that happened, and then we just kind of were like, yeah, that happened. 2 of their transition players, not named Ron John, Kyle Matisse, Brent Noseworthy, are fully capable of scoring whenever they want, especially Kyle, knowing firsthand. So Ottawa's got the pieces. It's a matter, I think, for Ottawa, it's a matter of their defense stepping up and performing in front of Higgy so that Zach Higgins isn't left on an island. That's the big question there. Can they do it? I think they're capable, and we'll see if they do. So there's your picks of the week, brought to you by Kenwood Beer, as I forgot to put the banner up yet again, but hey, what are you going to do? New Year, same stupid me. We're both going to Albany, both going Georgia. I've got Ottawa. You've got San Diego. And those are your NLL Week 6 picks of the week, powered by Kenwood Beer, which would put us, we also collectively, as a podcast right now, are sitting at 32-22 on the season overall in our picks. So we're 10 games above 500 as a podcast. Not too shabby.
I'm out here. Carrying. Yeah, we can get hey. We can give a homeboy the backpack of the week award for shizzle. Kevin Crowley.
Oh yeah, 100% certified backpack boy.
That hurt to watch.
Kevin Crowley, certified backpack boy of the week.
Threw that thing on shit.
Kevin Crowley. Other nominees, I would say Holden Catoni, put the wings on his back, scores that overtime winner. I would also say, trying to think of who else would kind of. I mean, Lyle did his thing, but it wasn't necessarily to the levels that Holden and Kevin Crowley. I mean, Clark Peterson too kind of put the Thunderbirds on his back late in that game, had 7 points. But yeah, Kevin Crowley for sure, certified backpack boy of the week. We will definitely be making backpack boy of the week graphics moving forward too. Thank you for reminding me about that. Last bit here. It's a new year, which means we get to get delusional and Delulu goals for 2025, Teach. It could be anything you want. Harrison and I did ours. Casey and Owen did theirs. I think it's fun to kind of do these, see where we end up, and we go from there. Could be anything out of pocket or as attainable as you want.
Multiple live pods for us this year.
Yep.
I think that's very doable. I think that's something I think we should be striving to add to our list every year. Like, okay, we did 2 this past year. We need to do, 3 or 4 this year, and just continuously look to bump that up and keep that train going. I haven't thought too much about our goals for this year. I've been thinking on multiple this episode. Yeah, multiple live shows definitely has to be a go. And maybe more side content, kind of like the Big Mac season kind of stuff. I think that could really help, some more short form content for us to push out at different sectors, different times. College tour. We've talked about that quite a bit last couple of years, possibly getting that going, or at least a framework for it so that we could get it for sure in 2026, but really pushing something with our college tour. Yeah, I don't know if I have anything else right now.
I mean, you could do guests you want. I know we got your white whale last year, so it's tough to top, but
I mean, there's one more out there. Well, two more that we have been chasing since I've been on this pod. I don't think I should say either one of those. Fuck it. But fuck it. Paul Rabel and Lyle Thompson. Yeah, getting those two boys on the pod. Whether it's the same time, it's separate times, multiple times. I'm here for it.
I'm with you on the multiple live shows. I agree with you on the improved social content and just being across the board. One thing I did put on the main pod kind of goals was just the overall growth of our social media pages. So I'm doing a little math right now, and I want us to attain a certain goal depending on what we're at right now across the board, which, looking at this here, kind of just looking at the big four social media pages, and who knows how long one of these platforms will last in 2025. That remains to be seen. But I want us to hit 40. Not, you know what? I'm going to go for the shebang because we're already across halfway. I want us to hit grand total across Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. I want us to hit a combined 5,000 followers on social. We are currently sitting at 2,588. So I think that's doable.
Yeah.
Kind of a little less than double. And it's a doable thing. I agree with you on the college tour, whether it be a framework or making some miniature version of it happening. In 2025, I also, Paul Rabel is on my to-do list. Like it's that time, Paul. It's that time. It's time to sit down with the boys in person because that's what we're holding out for. Because we know you like doing the in-person interviews. The other dream guests for this podcast this year, I have 5. If we can get these 5 players on the show, which I think
I forgot one. Stags. I want Stags on here so bad this year.
Which technically Stags was media day, so he would then become recurring guest.
Yes.
I have 5 people that I want on this show in 2025. Not including Paul. Number 1, we got to get the boy Michael Sowers. He's already in principle agreed to come on the show. Michael Sowers has to be on the pod. Number 2 is Grant Ament. I feel like that's been a long time coming. Philly boy through and through. We got to get Grant on the show. The next one is another one that we have been working on, and I think it can come to fruition in February in person, is Lizzie Colson.
Yep.
The next one that I would really love to have on the show is the boy, Trevor Baptiste. That feels like it should have already happened multiple times.
Don't forget to add MJ to that list.
For you.
Yeah, now that I'm thinking about it.
That, again, attainable at Champ Series.
Yep.
And then my last one that I would really, really love to have on the pod in terms of like players and everything is Alex Ostholman.
Yes.
Need that to happen.
So now the question is, solo episode for her, solo for the boys, combo with all.
So this is how we do it. We do solo episode for Alex, for Marcus, and for Brian.
Yes, yes.
And then I think we circle back in like early November and we make Thanksgiving with the Holmans a thing on this pod.
Okay. And okay. Follow me here. We find a new family every year.
Ooh.
We got the Reshes. I mean, the Kavanaughs.
The Curse.
The Cursed. We did have the Towers, kind of. Like, I mean, the St. Laurents would definitely be down for it. Like,
who? Oh, now you
we
got
could
my
probably
brain
get Collins and the Bates going. Like, dude,
buzzing. Now you've got my brain buzzing.
There's I mean, the Rabels.
Yes. Oh man. Now you've got my brain going.
Like that could be something.
Oh. So I'm gonna write Thanksgiving specials. That's gonna be a thing.
We will continue to work on this.
Yeah, that's an ongoing thing. And then I have two more. Number one is we definitely learned a lot this year doing it. And we hope to continue it in 2025 is continuing to work with Shootout for Soldiers. I think Eric and Alexis are the best. And I think we learned a lot as creators who are also not doing this full time, and kind of a lot of responsibility and a lot of just like time management with working with such a big partner. And I think we can improve upon a lot of the things that we did accomplish with Shootout for Soldiers and make it better. And I want to continue the partnership with them. I really hope we do, because I think they're fantastic. And I think we both have elevated our brands together over the last 6 months. So that's certainly one. And then I also want to get this podcast even more sponsored in a bigger and better way. Is just making sure that this show continues to be the creme de la creme when it comes to lacrosse content, and we get big time sponsors on this show, because I think our work speaks for itself, our following speaks for itself, our content speaks for itself, and kind of just nailing tentpole sponsors for what is a tentpole show at our company.
Love that idea. Definitely on track with that.
So there it is. You can leave us your Delulu OTB goals as a listener on our voicemail line, speakpipe.com/OTBLaxpod. And for a week that not a whole lot was going on, we still were able to squeeze out an hour and a half for you guys, because that's what we do on this show. Make sure you guys are following us on the socials. Help us reach our 5K on social media goal. At OTB LaxPod across the board. Follow DJ at SCS_next great. Follow Hoots at Hoots Sports Media. Follow Chase at the PLL Pipeline. Follow me at KBIZZL311. Subscribe to the pod on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts in audio form. Leave a 5-star review. Goes a long way for helping this show continue to grow. Helps more people find OTB and our entire catalog of podcasts. And subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel, youtube.com/@Underground Sports Philadelphia. That is where you get full video episodes of this show every week, full video episodes of every show on our network, clips, shorts, live streams, original video content. It's all on our YouTube channel. Let's get to 1,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel as well this year. Let's make that happen. Come on, people. And of course, check out Shootout For Soldiers website and register for one or both of the High Point University Military Appreciation Games on February 15th, or Shootout For Soldiers Houston, Texas, March 8th and March 9th. Both events are upcoming, and you can register for them now at shootoutforsoldiers.com/events. And it will definitely be one of the best events you attend in 2025. I can tell you that much, because Shootout For Soldiers are truly the best. So register for either High Point University Military Appreciation Games February 15th and or Shootout For Soldiers Houston, Texas, March 8th and March 9th by visiting shootoutforsoldiers.com/events. This has been episode number 356 of the award-nominated, honorably mentioned, number 9 NCAA ranked, and of course viewable on YouTube, Outside the Box podcast, the official lacrosse podcast on the Underground Sports Philadelphia Podcast Network. For Deej, I'm KB. Enjoy a small slate of games this week, and I'll be back at Wells Fargo Center next week as we get set for the OTB Battle of the Brains. It's Philly and Calgary on the docket. Bark in the bowl, baby. But until then,
like I said last week, I'm eating that Big Mac on pod so you can see it. Go next, baby.
We'll see you next week. Happy New Year, and we'll catch you next week. Peace.